Okay. Now I'm live. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Finally.
Okay, I think we're live.
Finally. Yes, now we are live now.
के भएको रहेछ यार मनोज?
खै थाहा छैन अब मेरोमै होला सायद के भयो होला किन त है
किनकि मैले लाइभ गर्दाखेरि आयो कि भिडियो।
दा सायद मेरोमै होला त के भयो होला मेरोमा चाहिँ but no worries दा we can do this one as well मलाई केही छैन morning दाजु
अलराइट। है मर्निङ। अलिकति
मेरो मेरो जिउ होइन तातेर यहाँ हैरान भइसक्यो कि यतापट्टि म राति सुत्न सकेन एकछिन त यस्तो ढिला सुत्यो बिकज अब thank you so much for joining the live session da के छ हाल खबर अनि
सब ठिक छ भाइ, सब ठिक छ। त्यही हो, लकडाउनमा छु अहिले एन्ड इट्स स्लो अब यही लकडाउनले गर्दाखेरि एन्ड त्यही त हो अहिले जस्ट इन स्पेन्डिङ डेज विथ माई सन एन्ड फ्यामिली होइन बिन रिडिङ अ लट त्यही त हो सबै खाने खोज्दै।
that's great da
What's happening के हुँदैछ तिम्रो चाहिँ?
how you are coping up with the lockdown da अब अहिले चाहिँ यो
लकडाउनमा अहिले त अब त्यही त हो नि, आई मिन सिन्स एभ्रिथिङ इज क्लोज्ड आफै ट्राभल प्लान झुझ्यो, फार्ममा जानुपर्ने एन्ड उता इस्ट नेपाल काप्रेजुङमा जानुपर्ने तिनीहरू पनि मेरो क्यान्सलै गर्नु पऱ्यो। सो लेट्स सी, आई मिन इट्स गुड। अब थिङ्क ब्याक एन्ड जस्ट सोचेर अब अरू प्लान के गर्ने फ्युचरको भनेर सोच्ने टाइम चाहिँ पाएको छ।
but is it affecting अति नै धेरै मात्रामा दा जसरी वर्ल्ड वाइड इन्डस्ट्रीमा एफेक्ट गरिरहेछ नि दाको यता हाम्रो नेपालको कन्टेक्स्टमा चाहिँ कति मात्रामा एफेक्ट गरिरहेछ दा यसले चाहिँ
यु मिन लकडाउनले?
हजुर दा
एफेक्ट गरेको छ भाइ होइन, तर एज अ प्रड्युसर आई थिङ्क यो वर्ष लकडाउन त आफ्नै ठाउँमा छ एन्ड टु एड इट अप नेपालको कफी यो वर्ष चाहिँ त्यति राम्रो भएन कि प्रोडक्सन वाइज बिकज वी ह्याड टु गो थ्रु दिस भेरी क्रेजी सो कल ब्ल्याक फ्रस्ट त्यसले गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ हाम्रो कफीको प्रोडक्सन नै यसपालि मोर देन 50%ले घटेको छ कि नेपालकै एन्ड वान अफ द थिङ्किङ अफ द्याट फ्रस्ट इज माई पार्ट अल्सो होइन इन्क्लुडेड। So yeah, I mean it's a challenge on the farmers' end because you're vulnerable to a lot of disease, and on top of that, about your corona it's been hard hit to most of the farmers, pretty much in Nepal.
त्यसले गर्दाखेरि अलि अप्ठ्यारो भयो यसपालि हैन सो
Yes,
how we start भन्दाखेरि नि दा भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ we always start I know कि most of the people already know तपाईँको स्टोरीको बारेमा हैन तर still हैन I just want to listen from you. People have seen your interview as well, people have talked to you as well, people have done a lot of things, but what brought you into coffee da in a very short manner that you can explain right now? Because people see you are, for me, like you are one of the pioneer in Nepali coffee industry, and there are huge numbers of people जो चाहिँ तपाईं देख्ने बित्तिकै हुन्छ नि they get inspired, and I believe that's for the fact is okay. So yes, da let's start with that.
Well, it didn't. I mean, I was in the US, I know, and I came back in 2008. So, my family, my dad and my brother, just two siblings. And my father was always doing a lot of philanthropic work prior to me coming to Nepal, and he was building schools and all that stuff. So I came back, and he wanted to do something different that is not directly related with the tourism industry, because our family, we are into tourism business. So he wanted something different and something that would impact people's lives, and something that can make some changes in these rural communities. Okay? गाउँतिर. So that happened to be one of the schools that he built in Wako, where our farm is right now. And then he called me up one day and said, "Okay, I want you to come back and do something that is not directly related with tourism." And I found out that coffee can be one cash crop and to create impact to the farmers' lives. And I said okay, and I came back, and this was started from zero. Like I said, coffee खाइरहेको थियो, तर did not know what the ins and outs of the coffees are, how a coffee plant look like and all that stuff. So started सिक्दै गएको, and the passion slowly grew within me, and it's just that sometimes in life you get this calling of this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And and that moment came to me when I was spending time with one of the families in my farm. त्यतिखेर हामीले जम्मै land acquire गरिसकेको थिएनौँ. So I was spending a night and with these people, and they were very hospitable enough to provide me all the things that they had, although it's not as much as in the cities. So that touched me a lot, and भित्रैबाट एउटा feeling आउँछ नि, you want to do something for these people. So that was my calling moment, and from then it's just I just started and learned the hard way, and read a lot of books, did a lot of research, and so having said that, जम्मै सिकेको त छैन, तर at least एउटा कफीमा सीडदेखि कपसम्मको एउटा प्रोसेस चाहिँ थाहा भयो.
Yeah. You have always been a humble person. That त्यसैले जहिले नि भन्नुहुन्छ तपाईहरु मैले केही सिकेको छैन भन्नुहुन्छ, but you are one of the, like I said, the pioneer in the coffee industry in Nepal. Likewise, मलाई सोध्दा मलाई कुरा चाहिँ when we started, like दाले फर्स्टमा स्टार्ट गर्दाखेरि was it directly the specialty coffee or it took a while? किनकि I have known you जतिसम्म मैले चिनेको छु, the first देखि नै specialty coffee को बारे, the only thing that I've heard about you is like you started with specialty coffee भनेर. Was that same, like सुरुदेखि specialty coffee लाई नै focus गरेर ल्याउनु भयो कि was it hard or you took some time? किनकि I've seen one footage from Ravindra Dai last time उहाँले आफ्नो स्टोरीमा हालेको थियो. I saw how hard it was. तपाईँले फर्स्टमा त्यो तपाईँको फार्मको लागि त्यो एउटा बाटो बनाउनु परेको थियो, and you were there. I saw you taking the videos, handycamहरू लिएर बस्नु भएको थियो, and that was like so interesting त्यो वर्ष अगाडि चाहिँ. So could you talk about that, please?
Yeah, when हामीले जब फार्म सुरु गर्यौं, we always had this in mind that we want to do something different, and we want to do something that we can represent to the international world. But I didn't know about specialty coffee up until 2011, and when we started, हाम्रो जहिले पनि vision र एउटा mission के थियो भने we wanted to provide quality, and this is what we should do भन्ने चाहिँ एउटा थियो strategy. And त्यसपछि when you talk about quality, it so happens that it got clicked with the specialty coffee. किनकि specialty coffee it's all about quality, it's about relationship, it's about trust, traceability, and all that stuff. And we were pretty much in line with what our vision was, with what the specialty coffee is all about. Okay? And at that point of time, and it's still. So it did not took us a lot of time, because working with a lot of international people from the travel side, we happen to know, we had good relations with people from the US abroad. So that kind of helped us to jumpstart to promote our coffees from the very beginning. And my father was in the very forefront about in terms of promoting the coffee from the very beginning, when even we didn't have any coffee berries in our hands. So we created that kind of hype, or kind of that buzz, and we were always transparent in terms of what we were doing, and trying to showcase our story to the other side of the world, saying that we are a producer from Nepal, blah blah blah, doing these kind of things, creating an impact in the community and all that stuff. So हाम्रो लागि to jumpstart गर्ने अलिकति गाह्रो भएको थियो, and after that it's all about quality that we followed. So quality was the only thing that drive us to what we are today, up to a certain extent. So I mean, it's been a fun ride so far.
Awesome da. So अर्को like दाको ठाउँमा मैले धेरै visit गरेको छु दा. Like I've been to your place a lot of times. Like जुनसुकै कफीको लागि होस् यसको लागि होस्, I've seen your videos. I've seen most of the things दाको. One thing that really inspired me and that takes in my head is that I have mostly seen ladies, let's say the woman empowerment भन्ने कुरा हुन्छ नि त. I've seen most of the ladies in your place. Like is it because you give more priority on the woman empowerment side? किनकि yes, केटा मान्छेहरू पनि हुनुहुन्छ, लोग्ने मान्छेहरू पनि हुनुहुन्छ, but more to these kind of perspectives मा चाहिँ is there any specific reason that like यो मैले देखेको मात्रै हो कि is it true that you are woman empowerment पट्टि अलिकति बढी मात्रामा दाहरूले गर्नु भएको छ भन्ने कुराहरू चाहिँ?
Absolutely right. Because from the very beginning, हाम्रो farm context मा हेर्ने हो भने from the very beginning, हाम्रो farm को workers like split गर्ने पनि more than I think 60% are women.
Yeah.
Their husbands are either working in the Gulf countries as a migrant labor, हैन, or either गाउँ घरमा त्यही त हो नि. I think गाउँ घरमा महिलाहरू नै धेरै forefront मा हुन्छ जेन्ट्स भन्दा, किनकि जेन्ट्स they are like they drink and they just create problems. So हामीले चाहिँ वुमेन्सहरूलाई नै धेरै इन्करेज पहिले गरेको र I think even in my farm when we have the picking season, pretty much 100% of our workers are all women because they are very particular in terms of picking and maybe it's अलिकति वुमेनको पर्सपेक्टिभबाट हेर्दाखेरि I think women are more detail oriented than men. So I guess hand sorting, picking, everything is when they do it in a very well mannered way and they have this eye to the detail. So in that aspect, you can say that we definitely encourage women to work at the farm, not doing these manual labor work, heavy loading which I because but when it comes to sorting, picking and alikati gorgarko kamहरु हुन्छ farm they always do the good job.
Yeah, I could see that. किनकि जतिचोटि दाकोमा आएको छ, even all the videos and stuff farmको बारेमा पनि देखेको छु दा हैन. I could see most of the people are involved, especially ladies are involved, and they're doing really good job than the other people. I would like to mention the viewers, guys. If you guys have any cross questions to Nima, please do let us know as well. He would love to answer to you all. I believe we have a question da. Squarji. I'm sorry if I pronounce it wrong. What do you think of the Nepal needs to grow into a bigger specialty coffee producer internationally?
Well, I think Nepal has a lot of we have been talking this a lot about coffee farming and to scale up the production of Nepal. Right now, to be honest, Nepal doesn't produce a lot of coffees. 400 tons a year, that's what we produce. Definitely we can scale that up to new areas, new locations. What we need to do is we need to create this awareness about what coffee is all about. How can it impact people? And when you talk about creating more awareness to people, it's about baristas or roasters or importers coming to the forefront and giving that message across the border that coffee can be good. किनकि नेपालमा अहिले हेर्ने हो भने धेरै ठाउँमा कफी त लगाएको छ तर the technology and the technical know-how to grow specialty coffee is not there. Meaning what kind of cultivar to grow, what region, what terroir, what elevation, all that stuff. So that if that protocols are in check, definitely we can scale up the quantity of coffees that we produce, and then pretty much keep the quality in check.
That's awesome. It's likewise if somebody is there who is really looking forward to do the farming session. Last time our session a few episodes we had people who were into naya coffee farming messages when they had, and some people texted me as well, and that is one of the reason where I mentioned them okay, if possible I would get you and we could definitely get this answer as well. So I want to ask you right now, I don't think he's online right now, but I would love to ask you, if we mention naya farmers earlier, if they want to do the farming, what are the main things that they need to think of first now? If in a brief way, I know there are a lot of things that, because we spoke about the soil as well, we talk about a lot of things, but in a very brief manner, the main important cheeses which you think should be very much concerned.
अहिलेको कन्टेक्स्टमा हेर्ने भने with 10 years of experience, or with 10 years of being in the coffee industry, especially in the farming side, what I have now realized is that soil is the most important aspect of anything, doing anything. So म अहिले के भन्छु भने धेरै न्युबिजहरु जो चाहिँ कफी प्लान्टेसनमा लाग्नुहुन्छ, what I normally advise them is to first grow their soil before you grow the coffee. Meaning you need to know what your soil is all about. Are there enough microorganisms, and do you have enough biology in your soil? Because that is very, very important. हेर्दाखेरि नेपाल, we say that Nepali coffee is all organic by default, all that stuff. But if we really go deep into it, most of the soils in Nepal is already depleted. मेरो opinion, right?
Yeah.
So we need to get that biology inside the soil. Unless we do that, scaling up coffee volume and doing coffee production is going to be very, very challenging for newbie. So I think more in-depth study about what your soil is first is very, very important before we start anything. And then you need to figure out where you want to grow the coffee, what sort of rainfall pattern you have, what sort of temperature, high and low temperature kati cha, what slope, all that stuff. So, but to bhanda agadi चाहिँ I think I would advise everybody to check your soil first.
That's good. Is there any specific ठाउँ जहाँ चाहिँ, or specific any people, how can they do it, कता गएर चाहिँ गर्न मिल्छ, के गरेर गर्न मिल्छ भन्ने कुराहरु चाहिँ?
Well, अहिले अब नेपालमा त अब त्यही हो भन्दाखेरि जहाँ पनि हुन्छ भनेर छ कफी हैन. So and it is because we are blessed with all these good terrains that we have in Nepal हैन. तर त्यो मात्रै भएर पनि हुँदैन, किनकि we need to go deeper in that about coffee लाई अब कुन चाहिँ तरिकाले गर्ने, मोनोकल्चर तरिकाले गर्ने कि त्यससँग शेड राखेर गर्ने कि हैन. सो अहिलेको कन्टेक्स्टमा हेर्दाखेरि भने पश्चिम भन्दा पूर्वमा बेसी कफी प्लान्टेसनहरु अलिकति फैलेको देखेको छ के, and which is good. If you talk about scaling up the production in Nepal, पश्चिममा त पहिलेदेखि नै कफी भइरहेको थियो, गुल्मी, स्याङ्जा, पाल्पा, कास्की हैन, त्यहाँतिर भइरहेको छ भने अहिलेको अवस्थामा हेर्दाखेरि तपाईको पूर्वी भेग इलामदेखि माथि, इलाम, फिदिम, पाँचथर हैन, ताप्लेजुङ, त्यहाँतिर पनि कफीको चाहिँ अवेरनेस चाहिँ धेरै आइसकेको चाहिँ देखिन्छ के. So which is good because that is an added bonus to Nepali coffee production, हैन. So that will definitely help in the longer term. But as a producer, one has to understand the key points about what what sort of soil you have, what sort of agronomic practices do you implement at the farm, what sort of pruning practices do you have, fertilizers के के छ, organic manure कस्तो खालको हालिरहेको छ. So these all add up and help you to make a better farmer at the end of the day. Because at the end of the day, you don't want to lose a lot of money by investing your 4 years of time, and if you don't get the returns that you expected, फेरि will go back to zero. So I normally advise a lot of newbies to do all these homeworks first, and then then jump into the farming, the reality, practical farming.
Exactly. This is something really interesting. I believe most of us youth, let's say, इसको बारे में था सना. But while talking about this one, the traceability को बारे में कुरान बात. We had a question from Susan. Traceability को लाइक challenges के कौस्तो छ and what are your plans on it भन्ने छ.
Traceability को challenges definitely छ, because if you look at the logistic part of it, हाम्रो नेपालमा धेरै कफीहरु डाँडा काँडामै रोपिरहेको छ नि त. So definitely access is very, very hard. And to top it off, like if you look at the number of farmers and if you look at the number of plants the farmers grow, these are very less coffee plants we are talking about. Like one farmer can have 100 plants, one farmer can have 50 plants, one farmer can have 500 plants. So and when you source all these coffees, you need to make sure how you do that, how you get that coffee across to your wet mill or to your dry mill. So definitely traceability is in Nepal context because challenge छ. Why? Because of the lack of proper logistics, and also lack of not enough coffees being produced on the farmer's side. So that makes it even harder, because I get a lot of inquiries from my roasters in the US that I can have this coffee from Lamjung or from Taplejung. When I talk about these coffees, these coffees can be very good, like 85 plus coffees. But when you talk about the volume of that particular farmer, it might just be 5 kgs. You know?
Yeah.
So, so you just want to add up more of those coffee, and you want more of that coffee. So
Yeah.
the way I do it is I try to separate all the lots, and yeah, I know it's a challenge, but it's something that would create more value to the farmers, and at the end of the day.
So while talking about the farmers, the organic availability is what they want to get. So is there any need of the growers and farmers from other side of the growing countries to come to Nepal and to share the knowledge with Nepali coffee farmers?
Absolutely, this is something that I've been advocating a lot. We need experts, and we need like growers from other side of the world, like Colombia or or Central American countries, to come to Nepal and see how coffees are grown, because terroirs are different, terrains are different, and climatic conditions are different as well. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and in terms of technical know-hows, I think for the last 2 3 years we have been just focusing on the processing side of the coffees. What I realized is I think we need to go more deeper into the agronomic part of it, because coffee नै छैन भने, when you don't have coffees, you can't process any coffees basically, right?
Exactly.
So growing comes first, and to grow you need proper technical advices, proper technical support from proper coffee regions, I would say. So त्यसमा जाँदाखेरि you need soil experts, you need people who have ample knowledge about what organic standards are,
Mm-hmm.
and just to follow on those standards, working with the microbes, going more into the biological part of the soil, in that aspect. So definitely we need more experts from other countries, from coffee growing countries, to come to Nepal and teaching these farmers the right way of doing things, because pruning, for example, is
Exactly.
Nepal pruning गर्दैन, होइन? So pruning is very very important, and we have seen uh, yields go like 5 or 6 times of what it was just by pruning coffees. So
Yeah.
Nepalमा त pruning गर्दै गर्दैन. So small things that matters a lot. So
Now,
if we
while
can have
talking about, I'm sorry, that one.
so if we can have all these in check, then definitely I think Nepali coffee go volume, the quality can go parallelly together again.
Yeah. While talking about microlot coffee, and that, like I have heard, apparently, like there are a lot of people who's been talking about it also. Like the microlot coffee that we get is it त्यस्तै खालको international quality को छ कि, but still हुन्छ नि, is there a lot of things that we can do just to make it better. Like सानो सानो मात्रै आउँछ, and talk about microlot, they sell to other countries as well, to other people as well. So what do you think of the microlot coffee that we have it in Nepal?
See, Nepalमा origins, we have very good coffee origins in Nepalमा, भन्ने हो भने. तर what's happening is consistency छैन क्या भाइ. Sano like producers that I work with, they are producing coffees that are 85 plus. I mean, these are good coffees, but international standard, specialty standard, be it a natural or be it a washed. But if I want to go to a new origin where you have more coffees being grown and more production and more volumes being contained, it is very hard to keep the quality in check, because most of the coffees are being run by cooperatives. And for some reason, I'm not a very big fan of cooperative model personally. But it can be done if you keep the right protocols in place. And to do that, like I told you earlier, it's about हाम्रो किसानहरूलाई coffee processing को बारे धेरै सिकाउनु पर्दैन. They know everything. It's just that they don't do it.
Yeah.
They don't do it. And that's the only reason, because you have a lot of some stars,
Yeah.
institutions, high NGOs doing a lot of great work in these processing trainings, and unfortunately they have not been able to follow those strict guidelines, and that is what sometimes makes Nepali coffee just specialty, but not in the higher 80s. So त्यसले गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ I think किसान आफै पनि passionate हुनुपर्छ equally, and I don't know. It's about, you need there need to be some check and balance checking mechanism also. So कस्तो कफी कस्तो कलरमा टिप्ने हैन कफीलाई प्री सर्टिङ कसरी गर्दैन and fermentation कस्तो ठाउँमा गरिरहेको छ everything. So you talk about micro lots, it's a good approach, but when you talk about more volumes in that particular micro lots, then and that is where the inconsistency comes in, okay, in the
Yeah,
coffee. So so
exactly.
I hope farmers can learn from those mistakes, and this is why we cup a lot of coffees, and
Yeah.
to see what farmers, each and every farmer's coffees is, how is it different from the other lots.
Yes, because I remember that कतिचोटि तपाईँसँग बसेर गफ गर्दाखेरि you spoke same farmको कुरा नै and you gave me so many reasons कि मनोज यही फार्मबाट हेरेर पहिला यस्तो थियो and then this got changed यति धेरै मात्रामा and you are talking about the consistency and the thing that we need to do just to make that small amount of coffee नै better, because you always have mentioned कि सानोबाटै राम्रोसित गरेन भने you cannot expect ठुलो ठुलो एकैचोटि राम्रोसित हुन जाँदैन. That's totally true and I agree on that one. I think we have another question. So how do you determine if the natural process the way to grow for a particular cherry?
How do you
How do you
what?
determine if the natural process is the way to go for a particular cherry? कुनै पनि particular cherry लाई चाहिँ natural process गर्ने भन्ने कसरी थाहा पाउने? I believe that's the questions.
I mean, natural process is not only the process, first of all, you have other processes as well. That if you want to do a particular lot to be a natural, then it's all about picking the cherries in a very red ripe form, and then moving forward in terms of what you want to expect from that natural. So natural can have a very fruity notes to very vinegary like taste. So it's up to you, what as a producer, what you want to achieve from that coffee. If you're doing a natural, do you want more fruity notes to it? Do you want more, let's say, berry notes to it, or do you want more, clean? Do you want more winey or more boozy kind of notes to your coffees? So based on what you want, I think you have to implement your drying patterns, and you have to implement your storage patterns according to what you want from, because naturals, as simple as it sounds, is as complex as anything. So we have to be very, very careful in what you want to achieve from that particular lot. So there's a lot of factors that affect the natural coffee. The moment you pick on the cherries, there's a lot of bacteria that's into play. A lot of yeast. Yeast is always a good thing. And if the coffee goes through a lot of inconsistent drying, then might have more molds to it, which can determine undermine the quality of the beans. So
Yeah, that's great. So, and we have another question from SCN Specialty Coffee Nepal. We heard that government and NRN are helping to those people who are willing to come back to Nepal and coffee farming. Is it true? And how things work? How these things work? I'm sorry.
I don't know. Is this very recent news? Because
I
I have
think so.
not.
किनकि मैले पनि यो चाहिँ सुनेको चाहिँ छैन यसको बारेमा चाहिँ. Not that I know of. I know that Lekali Coffee is definitely helping people who are willing to do the farms, and I know that stuff. And I've seen people where you have been helping a lot of farmers regarding the techniques ko बारेमा होस्. But I don't know that SCN को बारेमा उहाँले सोध्नु भएको जस्तो. I haven't heard about it किनकि there is no any news that I've heard of. There's no anything that I've heard of, so I'm not quite sure. दालाई के थाहा छ भने यसको बारेमा?
Um, Not as that I know of. But if I can, have more information on that, definitely I can try my best to, let the message across. And anybody who's interested just can just DM me or just come, and then we can have a good discussion.
Yeah. So that in terms of अघि हामीले रेड चेरीजहरुको बारेमा कतिपय ठाउँमा हामीले कुरा गरेका थियौं. In terms of picking and red cherries को बारेमा, do the farmers or let's say beginner farmers and also the regular farmers who चाहिँ त्यही बसेर गर्दै हुनुहुन्छ, do they have the proper knowledge about picking the right red cherriesहरु?
I would say yes and no, because color can be very confusing sometimes.
and color is one thing, and cultivar is another thing, because Typica ko ripeness ra Bourbon ko ripeness can be different. Can the colors can be little different, and as opposed to say a Caturra or a Pacamara, for example. So, but to sum it up, I would say a farmer can pick the cherries when the coffee ko cherry ko color turns more into plum. Plum ko पाकेको plum हुन्छ नि हामीले आरु भन्छ. So आरु को कलरमा आयो, I think that is a good indication of the coffee being to its optimum ripeness, and there is I would assume that there's more sugars accumulation in that particular cherry. So when I train people in terms of picking the cherries, I always tell them to pick the cherries based on the color, and what color I would normally instruct them or inform them to pick the colors when they look at a plum. So the plum ko color, pakeko alu ko color ma coffee tea, then it's a better indication of that coffee being right.
That's awesome. We have another question there from Modern Sherpa. He mentioned, or she mentioned that hi from San Francisco. Is specialty coffee popular among Nepalese people?
I think that's I think it's become more popular in the young people, definitely, for sure, because
and
people
you're one of the reason. I would add to that, you're one of the reason.
I mean, it's now people are getting more sophisticated in terms of what they want from their coffees, and already quality works we're going to definitely people want more out of the same coffees, and they are asking a lot of questions, which is very, very good. Where the coffee is coming from, what process, what cultivar, which farmers, and all that stuff. So definitely I would say Nepalma, especially Kathmandu and by Kathmandu Baira, specialty coffee ko ramro hype bhayiraheko cha. I think people like us are driving that industry forward, and this is the next step.
Thank you so much. Like, while talking about coffee ko barema, my first question मलाई के सोध्न मन लाग्यो अग्नेश भन्दाखेरि त, what are the main varieties that we grow यतापट्टि नेपालमा चाहिँ? Because most of the people they only have heard, like, apparently normally Typica नै भन्छौँ, Caturra नै भन्छौँ. Are there other varieties as well that we can look forward to and have high possibilities of growing it or anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely, bhai. अहिले नेपालमा हामीले generally grow गरिरहेको कफीको भेराइटल भनेको you have Typicas, Bourbons, Caturras, तिनीहरू छ. तर besides that, there's a lot of generic mutation also being done within the coffee, because when we initially got the coffees, नेपालको हिस्ट्री हेर्ने हो भने गुल्मीबाट कफी ल्यायो, तर गुल्मीबाट कफी बर्माबाट ल्याएको भन्छ, and बर्माको coffee is more, I would say, SL34 or Cadimore variety. So definitely we do have some Cadimore varietals as well, and some Margohipe as well. There are possibilities of introducing new varietals based on how much they yield, and are they disease or are they prone to coffee leaf rust or coffee berry borer or or frost. So it's a trade-off that we as a producer need to do before we actually start a farm, about what you want from your coffee. Do you want more volume, less quality, or do you want more quality, less volume, and more vulnerable to diseases? So it's a trade-off and it's a decision that as a producer you have to make. So if you look at other coffee producing countries, and the farmers, they split their farms into 2 or 3 lots. One of the lots they all do these commercial lots, getting more like an inferior level of coffee, because when all lot one they do like these high-end geishas and all that coffees. So Nepal we can do that. Producers, growers need to identify those varietals. We need to be very informative about what varietal we are growing, and we need to exactly know how to do that.
So I have another question that where people are asking that, is there any specific processing methods or a specific for the specific cherries that we picked as a color wise or anything like that?
मैले चाहिँ अहिले यसो हेर्दाखेरि मैले के लागिरहेको छ भने लाइक I cup couple of coffees before the lockdown, right, from East Nepal, and those coffees were uh, differentiated in terms of elevation. So there was coffees from 700 meters to coffees that were 1300 meters, you know, and they were all processed naturally. So what I noticed from my experience was the low elevation coffees cup very well than the high elevation coffees
Wow.
naturally. You know? So it's about cupping. Yes, definitely you have to cup a lot of coffees to know exactly what nuances you can find in that particular coffee. But what I have realized from my own point of view is if you have a coffee that is grown in a low elevation, you know, then chances of getting more fruitier notes, more nuances within the cup is more if you can process it naturally, in a natural, with a natural, as opposed to with a wash, because wash can give you some astringency to the cup. That's what I have felt, and definitely that is also varietal dependent, because some varietals might be carry more, you never know, which tends to have a very harsh stringency associated to it. Right? So based on what you want to achieve from that cup, and based on where the coffee is grown, we can segregate the way we want to process the coffees. And so if you want a higher score from a low, if you expect to get a higher score from a low elevation coffee, then I would advise to change your processing techniques. If your coffees has been scoring the same with that same processing method for over more than 2-3 years, it's about time that you might want to change your processing techniques, which can increase the quality of coffee both in the cupping and both in the score.
Wow, that's good. Now somebody's asking about the classes that we offer so I would like you to mention about this one. Is there any possibilities of Lekali Coffee classes that, like, I don't know if we can speak about it or not, like you're into NCA as well, the classes are there. Would you like to talk about it?
Yeah, I mean, we have NCA, sir, National Coffee Association, academy. I'm not very active because मेरो अरू कमिटमेन्टले गर्दाखेरि, तर डेफिनेटली हाम्रो डाक्टर बन्जाराजी हुनुहुन्छ, उहाँले ट्रेनिङ दिइरहनु भएको छ, and definitely you can, anybody who's interested to learn more about coffee, they can join me at my roastery, Lekali Coffee मा आउँदा पनि हुन्छ. So far I don't you know better than me, because I don't if I have time I can just go speak, so not a problem. So I'm quite flexible in that aspect. So it's not just it's not just like training, certification, all that stuff. It's more than it's a exchange of information, because like I said, coffee is the more you know about coffee, the more you feel that you don't know anything about coffee. That is the beauty about coffee. So I might be learning a lot of things from a lot of different people.
That's good. We have another question from Caleb. Can you describe some of the popular origins in Nepalma and what they are known for? Okay, we already talked about it, but still.
Popular origins. Well, I think coffees from coffees that I've cupped one way. I don't want to generalize it, because my experience, I think coffees coming out from Ilam is good. Definitely Lamjung has some solid coffees. Lamjung, Nuaco definitely is there. And Kabre बाट पनि राम्रो coffee आइरहेको छ, like recent years मा एकदम राम्रो भइरहेको छ. And I've had some amazing coffees from East Nepal as well, like Fidim भन्दा माथि पाँच तर Fidim and Tapajung as well.
Good, that's awesome. And also we have another question from I have a lot of questions, I'm so sorry. I'm expecting you to so we have another question from SCN. They are mentioning what is the well hauling process, and I tried to search and talk with so many people, but I found so many different answers. I believe I've talked about this one, that person, weight hauling ko bare mein, and you gave me esto mitho wala answers. Yeah, that was the best you can give right now. The weight hauling process, I believe well hauling process.
With hauling is basically you are it is well known in Indonesia, होइन
Yeah.
नर्थ सुमात्रामा धेरै कफी I mean pretty much all Sumatran coffees are wet hauled. The basic thing about wet hauling is, if you don't have enough sunlight in your place to dry your coffee, then you should wet haul your coffees. That's the basic part of it. You dip up the coffees, you pick the cherries, you dip up the coffees, and when the coffee moisture, parchment moisture content is around 25 to 30%, you start hauling the coffees, and then you re-dry them, because these coffees these practices are done in Indonesia where there is not enough sunlight and where the humidity is very high, because to condition ma coffee dry nahune karanle garदाखेरि wet hauling. So I don't think that is a practical approach to Nepal, because we have ample of sunlight during the harvesting season. So there are other areas in Indonesia, especially where wet hauling is very famous, and it has its own definite market. And if you can do it in a very specific way, you can achieve very good quality as well. The wet hauling market.
Yeah, that's one of the pros. Yes, that's right. Also, we have another question from Caleb. Is the Department of Agriculture helpful in allowing new varietals in into Nepal?
As of now, I don't know. मलाई थाहा भएको छैन, किनकि coffee board, Nepal coffee board they have not done enough research in terms of getting proper varietals, getting varietals from other parts of the world. But as a private producer, there are people who are bringing in coffee from Ethiopia or coffee from Central America, and growing it as a tasting phase, including myself. It's not governmentले नै declare गरेर ल्याएको चाहिँ छैन नेपालमा as of now. So it's all about as an individual, you try yourself and see how the varietal reacts to the climatic conditions, and then if that works, then you can move ahead with that particular seed, getting that seed, and then growing more of it, like geishas, for example. You never know, right?
Exactly. I wanted to ask about, do you have any idea, because you are into these stuff, like Nepalma first commercially ल्याउँदाखेरि, what are the variety that उहाँहरूले लिएर आउनु भएको 2020 मा नेपालमा भित्र आउँदाखेरि commercial wise चाहिँ?
त्यही त, त्यतिखेर अब भन्दाखेरि बर्माबाट ल्याएको भन्छ हैन. तर if you look at the history of Burma as well, त्यहाँको अहिले पनि हेर्दा त्यहाँको धेरै varietals, कफीको varietals चाहिँ most of them are either selection SL34 or selection 795. So it should either be selection SL34 or selection 795, which can be a catamor, which can have a catamor strain to it. Okay? So you never know. And the coffee Nepal ma ayo, Gudima Apsorma, the board biu nikaleko. So over the time, that same mother plant coffee, it got mutated also. Okay? So it went through a mutation phase as well, because same seed multiply going. So this is why you have the World Coffee Research doing a lot of research in seed in coffee varietals, and trying to experiment with different varietals in different plots around the world to see how it reacts and what are the pros and cons of that particular varietal in that particular origin. So Nepal, I think it's about time that we should dig more deeper into that varietal research, and at the end of the day, it's the government's decision to either bring in these foreign institutions to Nepal and doing a experimental plot where you can at least try with different varietals and see which varietal can be perfect for Nepali standard or Nepal climatic conditions.
Are there any like WCR, just say, is there any organizations who listen Nepal ma gaira asta? Is there like government side but that you know of? Coffee field ma चाहिँ
research ma चाहिँ गरेको छैन भाइ. तर if you talk about coffee training, coffee processing training, coffee basic roasting or basic barista training, a lot of institutions are doing it, like Lutheran World Relief Baristas is there. Yeah, a couple of other institutions that are not in research in varietals, working directly with WCR and trying to coordinate with these people, because these are the resources that as a coffee producer we should get from the other side of the world.
So we have another question, the interesting one. Why can't I buy Lekali Coffee in Pokhara? Why can't I buy Lekali Coffee in Pokhara?
Why can't I? Coffee
exactly, because
I wish I could, and this is what I'm trying to do, because organic standard so you can't put chemical fertilizers. It's not that I'm against chemical fertilizers, but there's ethics to it, there's sustainability factors to it. So definitely when you do organic, there's a lot of challenges, and the growing practices like coffee उत्पादन र कफीको प्रोडक्टिभिटी चाहिँ हाई नभएको कारणले पनि I have very limited production. But having said that, it's not that Lekali coffee is only the best. You have a lot of different coffees coming from a lot of different origins. It's just that one has to have a good eye for those coffees and go to the sources and sit with the farmers and train them the right way of doing things. And every time I tell these to a lot of baristas that coffee from Lumjung or coffee from Kapre can have 90 plus score if you are very careful in terms of recording everything and putting an eye to the detail of what goes into the process. So it's not like you can have, and this is where I spend most of my time to go to these special areas in Nepal where the potential is there, but it has not been explored.
Yeah, because I have seen Tobago story, man. I've mentioned you this as well. I haven't seen any of the person, any of the producer, any of the farmers in Nepal, the way you do it, the way you work hard, to throw denser batama, to piralako batama, you work, gadi bigdeko, tire gako, suppose I've seen it, and I don't know if people have seen it or not, and I can see that's in a cup of coffee. And that is why we adore you a lot. That is why we are so much inspired by you. I hope people know about these things. Also, we have another question that where people mention, somebody has David that I have heard about pulp processing, pulp natural processing. Would you like to explain about that?
Pulp natural is pretty much honey coffee.
Honey process,
so,
okay?
Pulp natural / honey is the same. So Brazil it's referred as pulp natural. So it's basically you pick your cherries, you deep up your coffees, and whatever coffee mucilage, whatever parchment along with the mucilage is there, you dry them on the sun, and based on what sort of mucilage you want attached to your beans, it can be red honey, it can be black honey, or it can be yellow honey, based on the amount of mucilage in it, and based on the amount of drying time.
Yeah.
So honey coffee.
What kind of coffee? Hold on, let me just check this one. What kind of coffee profile are you looking forward while roasting the coffee one day?
That's a very good question. When I approach a specific coffee, I first go through what the coffee is, how it's been processed, and where in what elevation is it grown, and how dense it is, and the moisture content, because these are the prerequisites before you roast the coffee. So density, moisture, processing, all that stuff. And when I get this information, then based on how the coffee is in its green, I try to roast. So I would say it can be medium. If I'm doing a sample roast for cupping, it can be a light roast. And if I'm doing it for a production, it can be a medium to medium dark, based on if it's for espresso or if it's for filter.
Yeah. So by talking about different processing do you experiment other processing as well? Because I know you have spoke about it as well. Like you try to do the and you do it for yourself just to make the quality better and better. Would you like to talk about it? Any other processing that you try to experiment?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of new experiments, new processing techniques being implemented by a lot of producers. especially for these world competition stage को लागि. So अहिलेको एकदम चलिरहेको hype भनेको एउटा anaerobic fermentation
Yeah.
which is basically fermentation, and I don't understand what anaerobic is, because anaerobic fermentation by definition it's fermenting you're fermenting coffee in the absence of oxygen. So anaerobic is the same thing. So it has a double meaning. Okay? Oil is famous. So why? Because it's giving you a lot of different flavor profiles out of the same coffees. And people are injecting a lot of CO2, like Sasha like you have this carbonic macerated coffees, which I did back in 2018, and I did a small experiment by injecting carbon dioxide and letting the oxygen out, and that coffee was amazing. So I did it like 10 kg batch and it gave me like coffee flavors that I did not expect from that particular coffees, like fruitier, best of the both worlds. Like you have this good acidity of a wash and very good fruity notes of the acids. So very clean, you know. So those experiments are being done, and like these days people are experimenting with yeast inoculants and yeast. So yeah, I mean different techniques being done, but at the end of the day, it's about what you want to achieve from that particular coffee. So as a producer, if your coffee is good, high quality, for example, if you're growing a geisha, you don't need to do these crazy experiments with that coffee, because that coffee in itself carries a lot of weight, carries a lot of depth of flavors. If you're experimenting with, I would say, I'm not saying it's bad, but if you want to do an experiment with Cadimore, things can be different. You can definitely get more out of that same coffee with that different experiment, like an anaerobic fermentation. You might be getting flavors that you did not expect from that coffee prior to the new experiment. So definitely try to experiment with these things, but be sure that you have you record each and everything that you do, so you can replicate it in the future. Because consistent, it's not just you hit it once and it's gone. You have to make sure you be consistent in your processing techniques as well. So these things, makes a lot of difference. And these crazy experiments are usually done for these high-end specialty coffee, where they vacuum pack, ice fermentation. They do people are doing crazy stuff with coffee recently, and it's good for the industry as well and for producers.
Wow. And when you talk about carbonic maceration, how difficult is it? Because though you do it in a very less amount, but still, I don't think that there are a lot of people who has been practicing carbonic macerations. Like you did it, or let's say, how hard is it? Because there might be a lot of people who wants to know about carbonic macerations and anaerobic processor but on basis of but since you have already done it, how hard is it?
It's not that hard. I mean, it's hard if you are doing it in a big volume, because definitely you need more resources. CO2 gas, you need more materials, more equipments, like stainless steel tank and all that stuff. That a very good DIY, is a bucket lidi. Bucket you make 2 holes, and so you have another bucket. You put one bucket if you're doing it whole cherry, or if you're doing depulp macerated. So if you're doing a whole cherry maceration, you just fill the bucket with the cherries, you add some water, half pani halne, and you put a pipe to pani pipe, and you put another pipe to another drum, and you insert that drum pani, and then when you start seeing bubbles in that next drum, then it's that the coffee is being macerated. So, and then at that point of time, that the coffees are ready to be depulped or to be washed, depending on if you're doing it whole cherry macerated or just parchment macerated.
That's awesome. Actually, those people who are doing last time there are some people who are doing it. Could you explain about the room temperature, the school of coffee beans? Would you explain about the room temperature where we can store the green beans? Maybe the humidity.
Room temperature always humidity high. I would say about 50% humidity. Maintain a 50% humidity, and temperature wise, I would say not go more than Between 18 to 22 should be fine, I guess.
18 to 20 da?
Celsius.
Okay, 18 to 20 degrees Celsius. That's okay, good.
Uh,
Now, since you spoke about WBC da, I don't know if we can speak about it or not, but I would like to say, because it's a really proud moment, Tobacco Coffee is going in on WBC, right?
yeah.
Can we talk about it?
Yeah, I mean, it's we're trying to experiment with our coffees, and I have a roaster who is representing our coffees in the World Barista Championship, and they're from India. उहाँहरूले चाहिँ मेरो कफी चाहिँ represent गर्दै हुनुहुन्छ. I don't know, it's if win or lose doesn't matter for me, but just the essence of coffee from Nepal being represented in that world platform is a big deal. So definitely, that makes a lot of difference for everybody in the industry, like working in the specialty industry from Nepal. So it's a pride moment for everybody, not only me, but people working from specialty industry. My family Nepali baristas, roasters, it's a good proud moment. So for that coffee, we're doing washed, and we have some naturals as well, which is I don't want to disclose all the information right now because जम्मै सकेको छैन भएको छैन. So let's see how it goes. And definitely WBC पनि postpone भएको छ, नोभेम्बरमा छ सायद. नोभेम्बर उनीहरूले ट्रान्सफर गरे जस्तो छ. Yeah.
Sudhis, he is from Chitwanda, and they are the people who are doing recently roasting start gareko cha. Would you have any suggestions for them, those people who are into roasting?
Yeah, I mean, you have to taste for the coffee that you roast. Tasting is very, very important. So it's not just you roast and you just forget. Keep tasting your coffees, and if you are doing roasting, try to change only one variable at one time. Meaning, यदि flame हो भने flame लाई तलमाथि गर्ने, अथवा if you're changing if you're making any changes in your airflow, just make sure you just stick up with that airflow and try to change some other variables, which will give you more control over your roast, and you'll have more consistent roast over the time. And definitely follow your nose, follow your senses. किनकि नाक, आँखा र कान चाहिँ is very important in roasting. So you should not get more distractions when you roast, and try to follow your gut. And it's not like roasting is. It's not like I cannot be मेरो profile of roast cannot be the same that of your roast. So roasting is very, it's different because it gives a lot of nuances, and based on what you want to achieve from that roast, that is very, very important. If you want to achieve high acid, you have to roast the coffees on that particular way. If you want to have more body, you have to roast the coffees in that particular way. So it's not that I tell you to do it, it's about what your preferences are, and based on your preferences, you change your variables on how to prepare that particular coffee.
Yeah, it's good. Thank you. And also we have another from Bhupal. He says that as many yeast are non-organic, and putting it in coffee processing might end up giving in some phenolic flavors, which makes it non-organic, isn't it? And also, won't it alter its natural flavor?
It's a very controversial answer. किनकि yeast is always good. Coffee ko yeast भनेको नै it's a wild yeast that we have in coffee. We call it the Saccharomyces cerevisiae. Coffee को लागि coffee में हुने yeast. The yeast is pretty much everywhere. The moment you pick the cherries from the coffee, you have yeast. And there are labs that are making yeast particular just for that coffee, and there are labs that are making yeast for like grape wine industry or beer industry. So I wouldn't say that it's an inorganic, but more than that, it's more you're adding in more flavors, because yeast is the only thing in your coffee that adds flavors. Yeast is always a good thing. It's never a bad thing. Okay? But if you're adding something that's out from what is inside your drum or what is inside your fermentation tank. Definitely, that's going to be something artificial. You know,
Yeah.
you're adding something from outside. If it's an yeast, I wouldn't say it's not a natural thing. It's a natural yeast that based on the flavors that you want to achieve, it can definitely make a lot of difference.
एक घण्टा भयो दाजु गरेर बन्द भएको
कता भएको चाहिँ आफै अफ गर्छ क्या
हजुर दा इन्स्टाग्रामले चाहिँ त्यस्तै गर्छ क्या त 1 घण्टा भएपछि गएर आफै बन्द गरिदिन्छ अनि त्यसपछि फेरि यु क्यान रिस्टार्ट द लाइभ सेसन्स क्या त्यो गर्दा
Okay. So yeah, I mean, coming back to yeast, it's always a good thing, you know, and I don't know, if it gives you phenolic flavors. Phenolic can be attached to if you go overboard with your fermentation time. So then, definitely you can associate that flavor with a lot of vinegar taste, you know. So and it's not confirmed that yeast हाल्दैमा artificial yeast हाल्दैमा coffee राम्रो हुन्छ भन्ने पनि छैन, तर at least it gives you a broader view of what your coffee can taste like for the good. Yeast हाल्दैमा coffee नराम्रो चाहिँ हुँदैन, तर if you over ferment your coffee beans, then definitely you have chances to ruin your coffee flavors. Definitely.
Likewise regular yeast र baked yeast मा मान्छेले कति बेला baked yeast पनि युज गर्ने कामहरु गर्छ नि हैन. So what do you think of the baked yeast? Like, is it good, or is it the same way that regular yeast works? Cause I've seen last time Marty, Marty, he has used the regular yeast and baked things. But have you ever experimented with that?
Yeah, I mean, we experimented that with when उता SCI को processing class China में जाँदाखेरि त्यही torch में जाँदाखेरि so we did an experiment with yeast. We didn't do it with wash process. We did it with a honey process. So when we dried the coffees, we spread the yeast from the top to these coffee beans, okay? And we cooked it. It didn't have any significant differences. It didn't make any significant differences to the cup. I don't know why. Maybe the microbes were not there, and maybe the microbes was not. It wasn't a favorable atmosphere for that particular microbes to react to the yeast. Research had found that there are companies that make specific yeast to these specific coffee lots, because coffee yeast, definitely I told you, like, it's a Saccharomyces cerevisiae, so if you have that particular yeast, then it's useful. And you have, like, for example, beer like yeast, you have lactobacillus, and you have other yeast. So try to figure out yeast that is specific to your coffee. And yeast is always region specific. So the yeast Colombia को coffee farm मा राख्दाखेरि राम्रो taste आउँछ भने त्यही yeast नेपालको coffee farm मा राख्दाखेरि it's not guaranteed that it will give you the same flavors, because it is really specific. Atmospheric pressure देखि लिएर altitude, temperature, humidity, everything matters, because you are playing with the microbes. So one reason that I tell to a lot of producers also is it's not the processing that gives you the flavor, it's the microbes that is adding the flavor. So it's the acetic acid bacteria, it's the lactic acid bacteria, it's the yeast, it's all these things that is creating in that fermentation tank, that is creating those unique flavors to the coffee. So if you look at the molecular level of it, definitely there's a lot of changes being made within the beans itself from the microbes.
Wow, that's it. That's the thing actually. We have Ashish. He's asking, what is the ideal range of TP out of total CT? For example, my CT OS is, I believe, is 1 bala. My CT is 180 degrees Celsius. What should the ideal range of TP be? Tara, before that, I think there are other people who are really looking forward TP बनाए कि CT बनाए कि भन्ने कुराहरु छ त
TP is a turnaround point, if I'm not wrong. And I think CT is the charge temperature. Simply So I think the question again.
Sure. What is the ideal range of TP out of total CT? I know. For example, वहाँको CT say charge around point say 180 degrees Celsius छ भने, what should be the ideal range of turning point be?
Oh, that depends on your coffee, on your drum size, on the batch size, on your probe, and everything. I cannot say that your charge temperature your turnaround should be at this point because every coffee is different and every roasting machine is different. You need to know your system first before you roast your coffees. And किनकि probe पनि धेरै फरक पर्छ and it's about where your probe is placed inside a roasting machine. Is it near to the face plate or is it how deep is it, and is it a very thin probe or is it very thick probe? Because thin probe will give you very fast reading, whereas thick probe can give you a very little lag reading the whole structure. So I would advise stick with one charge temperature. Don't change your charge temperature. CT change नगर्ने and heat गर्दाखेरि, I mean, depending on how, I mean, if he is doing a soaking, like 1 minute soak गर्छ कि soak नगरिकन from the very beginning charge गर्दै on गर्छ कि हैन. So it's not that turnaround point ढिलो हुँदैमा कफी नराम्रो भन्ने होइन, because and that pretty much I think turnaround point ढिलो हुने भनेको I think मेरो लागि चाहिँ it indicates that your coffee is more dense. So and it's a good thing because it gives you time to have a very the curves राम्रो देख्छ कि राम्रो देख्छ मात्रै हैन, it makes a lot of sense. But like Scott Rewale भने जस्तै you should not have the ROR flick. The flick चाहिँ हुनु हुँदैन. And most of the roasters, they struggle with that, including myself. I always get that flick. तर अहिले आएर बिस्तारै I'm adjusting my gas to not get that flick, because he believes that if you have that flick and crash, your coffees might be over roasted. Your coffees might have that roastiness flavor attached to it. So try to play around and try to just stick up with what you have, and based on that you just change one variable at a time. So I cannot tell you that your charge temperature or your turnaround temperature should be in this particular time and this particular temp, but I can tell you that it's about how you want your coffee to be in terms of the roast. So after coffee after decide basically it's just a principle, but that principles can be tweaked based on how you want what you want to achieve from the roast.
So likewise, that when we talk about the farm, sir, I really want to know कि हाम्रोमा कतिजना like कतिवटा फार्ममा चाहिँ तपाईले हेर्नुहुन्छ अहिले, and the quality of those farm.
हजुर
कतिवटा फार्मलाई चाहिँ अहिले दाले हेर्नुहुन्छ, किनकि तपाईको फार्म पछि गएर नि the best part is like तपाईले आफ्नो फार्म भन्दा नि अर्काको फार्ममा चाहिँ धेरै मात्रामा ध्यान दिनुहुन्छ, especially looking after the quality देखि लिएर सबै चिजहरु. कतिवटा फार्मलाई चाहिँ अहिले हेरिराख्नु भएको छ, and the result that you're getting out of that farm, the quality of those farm, what do you think?
I mean, अहिले मेरो farm back, I wouldn't say I'm looking after, but I would say I'm training / I'm giving instructions, working like my farmer partners. 7-5 वटा ठाउँको छ that I directly work with. So I call them and they give me an update about what their coffee is doing, how they are processing, and send me pictures on the WhatsApp, on the pictures. So based on that, we try to work and we try to cook the coffees. Yeah, I mean, definitely besides my farm, I definitely work with a lot of other farms as well, doing some consulting or either going there, working with the people, trying to tell them the right way of doing things. So, you're always taking something out of the coffees. And, like I said, it's about, you're not adding anything. The moment you start picking cherries from the tree, you are always, going downhill. So the least you can do is just be consistent, So that is what what I teach with the farmers, basically, like be it in Taplachung or be it in Ilam or Lamjung or Nuwakot or whatever.
So we have another question that Standard brewing ratio for coffee cupping and how it works for different types of coffee.
Standard brew ratio for cupping. I mean, if you're doing I mean, normal lab conditions, people do it with play with different protocols. Like I would say 1:16 ratio maintain garda huncha मेरो विचारमा. So meaning if you are, it can be 11 grams times 16 because cupping bowl can be different. So SCA standard हेर्ने हो भने 8.25 to I don't know 150 ml होला सायद. Plus or minus 1 point. You can do that if you are in a SCA cupping protocol, if you are following the SCA cupping protocol. But if you want to do something on your own, and if you want to have your own protocol, you can at least have a ratio of 1:16 and follow that ratio. Like, if you are using 11 grams or 10 grams of coffee, just multiply that with 16, and then, that's the weight of the coffee that you want to get. And then just, but make sure it's consistent.
While talking about cupping, that you questions, and I would really like to get your opinion as well. What do you think of the new protocols, coffee cupping?
Very hard. I tried that once. I failed very badly. धेरै चिजलाई ध्यानमा राख्नुपर्छ हैन. So एउटा हातमा कफी, अर्को हातमा shot glass, अर्को हातमा चम्चा, and you have this pen and paper and a lot of things. So I hope this doesn't get stuck in forever. Maybe we might can go back to what we had earlier, the same old protocols. But yeah, I mean definitely oil protocol. I mean, and it's good also because you are contaminating a coffee, cupping it with a lot of other people in the cupping group. So if I'm cupping it alone, I don't follow the new protocol. I'm just doing it the old way, because I'm not sharing them.
Exactly. So that do we have presently? So do we have any specific roasting class in Nepal?
Yeah, I mean, you can either go to NCA, register for the classes, or if you feel free, you can just come to my office, see what we do, and we can just share some profiles together, and then just have a chat. But we are just doing it. I'm just doing it for without.
I've seen that recent construct lab pani. Is it like double gone back? Are you planning with that thing? Planning with that lab?
I'm planning to. Yeah, I'm planning to host some sessions, like cupping sessions, and I might also do a session about espresso theory. Just about espresso itself, not about the art of making a latte or whatever that is. I mean, what goes into espresso, basic espresso mathematics like algebra. How do you take out extraction yield, all that stuff. So that, and also do a roasting session, and then just see how it comes like. One thing that I've been trying to do for a long period of time is I want to register Nepal as a SCA chapter, and which I've always been fond of. And I've already got an email from the SCA people that they're interested to have us, and we just need to figure out a way about how can we bring everybody so that we can form a SCA chapter in Nepal. So the email I said, and I'm feel suitable, and definitely. So we can probably have a conference call and then discuss about what should we do, because we need at least 25 SCA members, and I think 5 companies which is registered in SCA to form a chapter, and then we have to host.
That's one of the reasons why we are not allowed to participate on the SCA competitions,
Absolutely. So I think Nepal has a lot of skilled baristas in these recent years, and then you look at Amro Wild Nepal, Amro Kishan, you latte art so definitely we have a lot of chances, and Amro baristas they can prove that Nepal has that potential to showcase our coffees and also our baristas in the international platform, and they have already proved that, from Dubai or from UK or from Australia, wherever in the world.
Yeah.
But if we can have Nepal as an SCA chapter on its own, then they can at least represent Nepali coffee from Nepal in the world arena. And this is something that I've always been trying to take that initiative to have this chapter in Nepal, so our baristas, our roasters can can compete with international people in the world platform.
Definitely, that would be totally awesome, and I think you're creating an opportunity for us, a loophole bottom. Now, say we can go to the other side and then get that platform. Kinegi like is Bakare Male Suraj Sanga, one of the Qatar Ladder champion. I've been talking to him.
Also, yeah, I forgot about Suraj also. Suraj is also doing an amazing job. Yeah, I mean, he
Yeah.
won the
Qatar Ladder champion. So this creates a very big opportunity for us. That I was watching one of the interview from 2018 go आगे था recently भएको the last time मैले हेरेको थिएँ अनि I found it a really interesting subject कि चरी बाघको बारेमा.
Okay.
So I didn't know that. I swear to God, I didn't know that त्यसको बारेमा चाहिँ हैन. And that was like totally surprising. Would you like to talk about चरी बाघ? Is it real?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely. मेरै फार्ममा पनि आउँछ. So नेपालमा हामी चरीबाघ भन्छौँ र I think I think Englishमा it's called
Leopard
wild.
cat.
It's
Well,
called the wild. Indonesia it's called the kopi luwak. Yeah, it's basically the coffee is being eaten by this wild civet and then it excretes the coffee. So during that excretion phase, the coffee goes through an intestinal fermentation. So the animal pulls that coffee out, and whatever that coffee is, we wash them, we dry them, and then we dehull it and we roast it. It's a very fancy thing, for specialty professionals, that coffee is just I would say shit coffee basically. So it's nothing special. It's just been overhyped. I would say. I've tried luwak coffee from a couple of different places, but nothing interesting. It's just plain old chocolatey, nutty coffee.
Wow. So while talking about that training on the farm level, do you help the people who are willing to do the Naya farming session? Does Lekali Coffee help them out?
Absolutely. I help them out. Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you have that passion and if you have that patience to wait, definitely. So I've always advocate about farming. What I have felt is I don't want to see whenever I give advices or whenever I talk with other new wannabe growers. I want to make sure I don't repeat the same mistakes that I did at my farm. So at least I want to equip them with the right weapons that they need to be a successful farmer, and that right weapons can be knowing your soil first before you grow your coffee, right? Knowing what sort of terroir you have, and getting all the details in check first before you actually have your seed beds or build your nursery and getting a proper varietal of seeds. So all these things is very, very important, and definitely I've been doing that, so I don't have any problems with working with people. I'm just trying my best to advise them in the right way, because like I have always been saying, it's a collaborative approach, right? So it's not a single man's journey. So coffee is all about relationship, it's all about sustainability, and it's all about people at the end of the day. So you have to be eager to work with people, and you need to keep that passion alive. Otherwise, like I said, if you're just in for the money in this industry, it might not take you a long way.
Yeah, that's right. Now this brings me to one of the important questions. Malai say definitely. I'll be really honest to you that since 2008 when you started till 2018, 2018 ma, for me, I personally believe people got to know you because your coffee scored 90. But a lot of people do not have the idea. A lot of people do not have a single bit of idea. 2008 देखि 2017 सम्म जुन तपाईको त्यत्रो long transaction को मेहनत छ. You might be working super hard. You might be working and struggling a lot. But nobody takes care. Nobody cares about त्यो खालको period मा चाहिँ. They just know कि 2018 मा you scored 19 points. Your coffee farm scored 90 points, and you got a lot of stuff. Now you have a fame. Now you have a lot of names. But त्यो time को era को पालो, त्यो age को पालो, त्यो gap को पालो. Would you like to talk about that?
Yes.
Because I really want people need to, because I'm sorry that, but I really want people, to understand it's not about one overnight game. 2008 देखि 17 सम्म nobody knew about Nima Dai or Lekali Coffee in Nepal. Yes, international market you had people and they would definitely love your coffee. हाम्रोमा चाहिँ के भन्दै जब fame आयो and then people know about Lekali Coffee and oh दामी छ, oh राम्रो छ भनेको. But nobody talks about your hard work from 8 to 17 सम्म चाहिँ.
True. So yeah, I mean it's always been like a fun journey for me. It's an experience because मैले coffee पढेको होइन, हैन. So I learned it the hard way. And तर मलाई के चाहिँ थाहा थियो भने if you focus on doing something, something right from the very beginning, the day will come that your coffees will speak for itself. So हाम्रो vision के थियो भने quality राम्रो बनाउने, जहिले पनि quality. I never diverted from what I never compromised on the quality right from the very beginning. Bricks meter kinediki layer, pH meter kinediki layer, infrared gun kinediki. I never compromised. Yeah, these are investments for sure, but I did not back up from those investments or those expenses. Some people might consider that as an expense. For me, those are expenses. But तिनीहरुले मलाई के गर्यो, तिनीहरुले मलाई एउटा लाइनमा ल्याउनु हेल्प गर्यो. So when I started, like when we had our first harvest back in 2012 and 2013, my coffee was scoring around 82. मैले मेरो coffee and it was scoring 82, and my importers, they said, Tenjing, your coffee is, it's stringent, it's citrusy, but it lacks that depth of complexity. There's no wow factor to your coffee and all that stuff. And that did not let me, say, oh, I don't know what to do. I mean, I could have sold my coffees to domestic market for sure. We want to showcase what Nepal has to offer. So whenever I talk about coffee from Nepal, I don't talk about Lekali Coffee. It's Nepal comes first and then Lekali comes second. Right? So in that aspect, I've always preached about the quality. And back in 2013, when our coffee was scored on 82, 83, I know it didn't make me disappointed. It gave me an extra window about what should we do. So maybe I tweaked with the picking time. So when I was like I have records of each and every harvest. I take pictures of each and every harvest, including the videos and footage that I take. So back in 2013, when I was picking the cherries, my cherries were right. I mean, it was red. It wasn't the redness that I was looking for right now. So that kind of, the sweetness level was not there. I was not hitting the right sugar content or the right bricks number. So those variable change. And then I played with fermentation times. I played with drying time. Did a lot of shade drying. That helped me a lot in terms of not damaging my embryo within the bean itself, and extending my shelf life of my coffees. Because generally, Nepali coffee drawback is when our coffees tend to age very, very fast. Yeah. So we need to get it going very, very fast. So these are things that I slowly started digging into and really kept that into practice, which ultimately made my coffees achieve that point. It's not that it's set. You need to work on it, and you need to definitely do a lot of research and do a lot of study on what makes that flavor, who creates that flavor. So what I've realized is it's not the processing methods. More than that, it's the microbes that creates the flavors. So it's a gradual change, and it definitely, like you said, it takes a lot of your time, a lot of your hard work, and a lot of your patience as well.
Exactly. We have another question, like again score ko bare ma kura garदाखेरि चाहिँ how's the score अहिले चाहिँ त हाम्रो कति गरिरहेछ, and अघिनको जुन score कै बारेमा कुरा, I would like to add present को question चाहिँ, was it affecting on the international market हाम्रो coffee cupping को score ले?
International market in terms of key price, volume,
maybe the selling of the Nepali coffee.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on. Yeah, I mean, it really depends on who your buyers are, right? So, marketing is definitely marketing your coffee is very different from what you produce. You can produce a very good coffee, 95 plus or 90 plus coffee, but if you don't know your right market, then things might go a little different than you expected. So you need to be aware of who your right target market is. Oil coffee market, specialty coffee market, there are like 500 tons kinne pani cha, 1 ton kinne pani cha, 1 bag kinne pani cha, 200 bags kinne pani cha. So you need to figure out who your right buyers are, and are your visions or your aim aligned with, or your goals aligned with those of your buyers? You know, are buyers looking for sustainable coffee? Are buyers looking more for relationship coffee, or are they just looking for low price, big volume coffee? And that all depends. So, you know, if it's not the right fit for your coffee, then, you know, your coffee price and your score definitely might affect your market. Why? Because, you know, you never know. कतिपय ठाउँमा मान्छेले biasness पनि राख्दिन्छ. So, you
Yeah.
know, you might be scoring very good. You know, there are people who can just squeeze up your price and just, you know, want cheaper coffee from what your coffee has to actually showcase. And this is one
Exactly.
reason that I tell a lot of producers to know and to taste what your product is. Because until and unless you don't know your own product, how can you sell that product to your buyers? Because, you know,
Yeah.
at that point of time you are not calibrated, and maybe on the other side of the world people might take advantage of your product. I don't know what, you know. त्यस्तो पनि हुन सक्छ. So, you know,
Understandable.
you need to really know your shit once. So in that,
Yeah.
at least know your coffee, cup your coffees, and taste your coffees before you know actually start talking about price.
Yes. So we're almost on the end of the sessions. Okay. I will be taking a few more questions. I'm really sorry. It's gonna be more like it's almost gonna be 2 hours now. Few questions more. I'll be taking it. Okay. As you don't have, I have another question from Purushottam. As you don't have many specialty coffee courses available, and I guess we must commercialize it in order to grow its market. I guess we must have the real state of coffee to the customers. Your thoughts on it,
Um, Specialty course. That's a very good word. It's about, you know, it's not just about the certification. It's not about just, you know, I take a 3 days course in SCA and then, oh, I'm a barista all of a sudden, or I'm a roaster all of a sudden. It's about keeping it consistent. It's about you practicing it over time. You know,
Yeah.
the best, I would say the best cuppers in the world are not curators. The best baristas are in the world, or best roasters in the world are not SCA certified. You know, it's just a, you know, yeah, it is good to have that certification on the wall of your cupping room or in your office, but it doesn't guarantee that you being a good roaster or being a good barista. It's all about practice. It's all about what effort you put, how much time you spend in your roastery or in your cafe to enhance that skill and to sharpen that skill over time. So, you know, so coffee सिक्नुको लागि certification course चाहिँ गर्नुपर्छ भन्ने छैन. You can just, you know, you can just have a simple roasting machine or simple brewing equipment and then move on from that, right? So हाम्रो एउटा नेपालको एउटा कन्सेप्ट के छ भने, you know, cafe has to have, you know, these aesthetics. Cafe has to have
Yeah.
this हुनै पर्छ टाइपको छ नि. It doesn't work like that. As my opinion, you know, it can be as simple as anything, but your skills and your passion is the one that dictates you as a seasoned roaster, barista, brewer, producer, or just a cupper. So just keep your passion alive.
Awesome. Now, I know that Lekali Coffee, or let's say you are a non-profit organizations. You're not linked with any kind of stuff, but also you're doing a great job on training sessions and everything compared to जुन चाहिँ हाम्रो government साइडतिर छ जसले चाहिँ गर्नुपर्ने कामहरू छ. Like there are some places where organizations छ जसले चाहिँ ट्रेनिङहरू दिनुपर्छ, यो गर्नुपर्ने हुन्छ. But you are doing more than that. Like जुन चाहिँ उहाँहरूको काम छ, I'm not specifically going to name अथवा कुनै पनि चिज त्यस्तो चाहिँ नै, but जुन चाहिँ त्यो डिपार्टमेन्टको काम छ, you are doing that stuff, but without any expectations, without any high expectations on getting financially or something, not without doing these things. People can come to you and then ask you anything, and एकदमै humble भएर you give them informations about, you know, you're too much kind. I know that, so it's not about मान्छेले सोचिरह होला I'm exaggerating. It's not actually. That's the truth. If you have met Nimada, you will know these things, right? But how do you separate yourself from these departments?
I don't see, when it comes to coffee, uh, I only like to be engaged in projects where it's really creating an impact to the people at the end of the day, and it's making some difference to the livelihood of the people. So if it's just for financial stake, then, you know, I would probably have to think twice. But like for example, I'm working in a project in East Nepal where I'm working right now with about 1,400 farmers planting about 2 lakh coffee plants. That is for a project that really uh, uh, is into my heart. So it gives me a sense of satisfaction. Like you said, it's not easy to to drive 8 hours and to hike for another 5 hours just to get to a place where you can just have 5 or 6 different coffees. So it's the sense of satisfaction when you promote or when you showcase these coffees grown by these small farmers, the smile on their face, that gives me that, and that is something that cannot be bought by a lot of money, I would say. So when you
Yeah.
get this satisfaction and when you see these happy faces, that's the impact that you create, and this is what I am after. And definitely yes, आफ्नो काम त छँदैछ, मेरो आफ्नो रोस्टरी चलिरहेको छ, तर it's not just for the money for me. I think it's more than that. So it's about creating people, creating impact. It's about working with people, and that is something that I want to showcase, not only from my coffee from my farm, but from other origins in Nepal, which we have handful of them.
Good. That's awesome. Now, when we talk about the project that you're involved in, I believe that's a coffee practice project. Okay. So people who are watching, I would definitely, if you don't know this one, Coffee Practice Project has got different Instagram account as well, including Lekali Coffee. So I've seen the Coffee Practice Project, the story of the farmers, the story of every individual sort of that. Would you like to talk about the Coffee Practice Project as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's a project that I've
because it's very interesting, and you can listen to the stories of the people, you can get the farmers, the old lady especially. I adore her. Atti dhere maya lagda manche hununcha uha चाहिँ हैन. So I've seen her story as well. I've seen a lot of things as well. The Coffee Practice Project, man, you've mentioned, because it inspires a lot of people, those people who are interested like us. I mean, just the youth, like say. So that's like totally inspiring. Would you like to talk about that? I'm sorry that मैले रोके.
Yeah, it's a project that I've been working for the past 2 years over here, and it's about making a sustainable coffee farming in the East Nepal, Taplejung specifically, because अहिले Taplejungमा problem के छ भने it is used to be known for its cardamom. अलैँची खेतीको लागि इट इज फेमस, तर अहिले आएर चाहिँ अलैँचीको एउटा प्रोडक्सन पनि धेरै कम भएको र प्रपर मार्केट नपाएको अवस्थाले गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ पिपल हेभ स्विच टु अनदर क्याश क्रप व्हिच इज कफी, एन्ड आई एम टेकिङ द्याट इनिसिएटिभ to raise awareness and also help them plant coffees in those remote areas of Taplejung, and as of now we have around 800 farmers already signed up for the project, and they have already grown coffees. राम्रो भइरहेछ, तर all the things that I do is all based on my past mistakes that I did at my farm, and I don't want to repeat the same mistakes to these people. That is why I train them the basic things about compost making, manure, राम्रो मल भने कस्तो मल. In Nepal we think that मल गाईको बस्तुको मल भन्दैमा मल राम्रो हुन्छ, तर it's not like that. You need to really know what is there enough biology in that proper compost. So these are things that I train to these people before we jump into making coffee seeds and making nurses and all that stuff. So it's a very impact project that I'm doing, and my vision is to at least produce a container of coffee from 3 years down the road, and that container of coffee has to be all specialty grade coffee. So this is my vision, and we are happy that we have very good supporters from the donor supporters Denmark or UK. So they're helping us to reach that goal, and I'm basically taking the leadership to go there, initiative to go there, teach the people, try the coffees, make a lot of right now हामीले चाहिँ naturals बनाइरहेको छौं, किनकि there are already existing coffee farmers in Taplejung where they did not know what to do with the coffees, and they used to just let it rot in the trees. But since the project has initiated in that particular area, we've been buying all the coffees and making into naturals, and we're lucky that we have very good well wishers abroad where they have been buying that same coffees, and it got sold out. So last year we had about 100 kgs of the naturals, and it got sold out within a week time. So it's about the story, it's about the people that here, and like going back to your question about coffee market, you need to figure out your right buyers people, because not every buyer would be keen to listen to your story. Not every buyer will be keen to listen to, what you do, all that story. Some buyers just buy the coffees, no matter what story you have to share. As long as it's good, they'll buy it. But some buyers, they want to work directly with you, directly build a relationship and stuff. So this is what we are building relationship, making and fostering that relationship together, and making a difference in the community itself.
Wow, that's awesome. Now, is there any ways that people from Nepal also can help, like in perspective of, let's say, donors ko base ma athwa funding base ma, if there are people who are interested, are the arms open, like the doors are open for from coffee project? Da? If
Yeah.
anyone is
Um,
interested, just in case.
we are actually, or let's say, we are in the second phase of the project, and one thing that we're trying to do is connect the second wave, second generation of farmers, which किनकि अहिलेको स्ट्याटसमा हेर्दाखेरि चाहिँ most of the young generation people are living in Taplejung and going to the Gulf countries to do manual labor jobs. So, we have, I came up with an idea about building a coffee trading school, a trading center, where I can connect that dots, because, 5 years down the road, अहिले गाउँमा जतिजना छ बुढापाकाहरू हुन्छ, उहाँले कफी रोप्नुहुन्छ, तर what about his son or his daughter working in these khadi muluks and
Yeah.
doing a manual labor job? So how can I connect these people with the farm? Because, and the best way to do that I thought was building a coffee trading center where I can teach them the right way of brewing coffees, the right way of tasting it, the right way of growing, the right way of brewing. And if they can connect that, they can definitely, like, हाम्रो अहिले दुबईमा हाम्रो धेरै भाइहरू छ, हाम्रो baristasहरू, roasters हुनुहुन्छ. So, it makes a lot of difference to these people, everybody working from away from Nepal. If they can connect the dots, if they can connect coffee with something that they have already been doing, then that would make a lot of sense. So the vision, like I said, we're trying to build a small training center, and in that training center, any baristas who are willing to, spare their time to teach these people, you guys are welcome. I wouldn't say about how much to pay. Like, it's just a voluntary thing, which, if you are interested in doing that, yeah, please do contact me in the future.
Definitely. So if anybody is interested regarding anything about funding goes, people can connect you, right? So like Dinesh Levin Sodirasa, just wondering how like, is there any coordination between government to develop coffee agriculture in Nepal?
Yeah, I mean, यसपालि चाहिँ गर्नु त गरिरहेको छ नेपाल टी कफी बोर्डले. They have been working directly with यो नार्टसँग काम गर्छ, नेपाल एग्रिकल्चर रिसर्च फर्मसँग. तर if you look at coffee and tea in Nepal, coffee भन्दा टीमा प्रायोरिटी धेरै छ कि. So त्यो कारणले गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ most of the funding to most of the resources to fund these programs from the coffee board, somewhere or the other goes to the tea department. Okay? त्यसले गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ, I mean, because tea is much bigger in Nepal, production धेरै छ, yield धेरै छ, त्यो कारणले. तर अहिले आएर चाहिँ अब coffee boardले पनि they are setting up like couple of labs in Nepal, like Pokhrama lab बनाएको छ, where they have sample roasting, and they are trying to make a dry mill as well for sample green beans and stuff. I think we need to look at the broader picture, because young people, we are the ones who have to make that difference. So politics aside, if you're just speaking for the coffee, then definitely we need to make some changes when it comes to doing new R&Ds, new research. And I think baristas, roasters, everybody in the value chain is equally important to at least contribute something to the industry.
Cool, that's good. So I think we are taking only a few more questions, guys. We're almost done of the sessions. Last question, I think second last one. One of the biggest challenge has been building the sensory skill. What do you suggest to build your palates apart from the joining training?
Try to drink coffee as much as possible without adding sugar and milk. Americano khanu धेरै. But seriously, try to drink coffees, and try not to drink too overly roasted coffees, I would say.
But it is important, yeah. Sensory ko lagi say, I believe, मैले कुरा आफूले personally सिकेको कुरा चाहिँ कस्तो भन्दा, unless and until you do not have any ideas about the sensory skill ko बारेमा, olfactories ko बारेमा चाहिँ, it's going to be really, really hard, because because we might say कि होइन हामीलाई चाहिँ प्यालेटमा चाहिँ हाम्रो जिब्रोले थाहा पाउने तीनवटा स्वादको बारेमा, but when we talk about other from our nose, like you said, it's super important, and I personally know how strong is your nose, and it's super important कि मान्छेले त्यो को बारेमा चाहिँ जान्न जरुरी नै छ. It's not about okay you will learn it by yourself, but unless and until if you do not have that classes, especially class नै भन्नु त्यो सेन्सरीको क्लासेस देखि लिएर सबै चीजहरु, it's going to be really hard maybe.
Absolutely, bhai. Because if you're trying to let's say if you're trying to attend a Q grading course, and if you don't have any prior background of cupping coffees or just tasting coffees, then definitely for sure you'll have very hard time passing the course, because there will be things that are just out of your mind, out of your head, which will be taught in the class itself. So त्यसले गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ definitely cupping गर्नु जरुरी छ. And cupping doesn't mean that you have to have a proper lab and 8.25 gram coffee it's just you can just have a simple cup of coffee, just black coffee brewed in a very simple way, and pretty much don't add any sugar or milk, and just taste it yourself. And the more coffees you taste, the more sensory palate you bring, and different people have different strengths. For me, my nose is my strength, so I can I can exactly know it tastes the same, and this will be helpful for you in triangulation when you are doing a Q grade, which you know and I know as well. In general, everyday life ma hamile khane cheezhurulai I think we need to be at least a little aware of what we eat, like be it a fruit, be it a rice, or be it any meat, or be it any savory or sweet item. As long as you have these in your memory, that will help you to pass your course, and also to have a better sensory skill. And having a better sensory skill doesn't mean that you need to be a Q grader as well. You can cup the coffees, and as long as we are calibrated with each other and the group, I think you pretty much pass the whole thing, because calibration is very, very important. So
Yeah.
yes, taste more coffees, and taste more different foods. Definitely नेपालमा अब हाम्रोमा अब raspberry, blueberry पाउँदैन, तर at least you can try it with dried fruits, right? You can go to Big Mart, or you can go to Badbatini, buy these prunes, or buy these freezed raspberries. At least they can give you a taste of what it tastes like, and then you can correlate that in your coffee. For example, Kenyan coffees taste a lot like tomato or blackcurrant. I didn't know what blackcurrant was, but when I had a blackcurrant juice, which was in Badbatini, and then I can correlate that taste with that blackcurrant taste of Kenyan coffees. So it's all about tasting more stuffs, and to I think more outside the box.
That, like, almost to the end, I would like to ask एउटा question चाहिँ के अरे, do you deal with any kind of products like to help people, let's say roasting को बारेमा अथवा अरु equipments हरुको बारेमा? Is there any do you do that stuff?
I mean, roasting, definitely. I mean, I've been getting quite an inquiry from some people, some roasters, about getting a roasting machine. Definitely, they can contact me. I can at least help them get acquainted to a decent roasting machine for Nepali standard and for the world as well. And then, definitely anything related to coffee equipments, small like things like brewing, things that definitely. But I'm not more into that trading aspect. I mean, I don't sell like espresso machines or things.
Yeah.
For the sake of being in the industry and for the sake of your passion, definitely I can recommend machines that can match that standard of specialty coffee.
Awesome. That's what I wanted to give the information to the people as well. Almost now, last words from you. Almost done.
Thank you. I think thank you everybody for your time, for मेरो कुरा सुन्नु धन्यवाद. Manoj, you are doing an amazing job. I think this is a very good platform for us, for everybody working in the coffee industry, to share our thoughts and share our feedbacks about what we are doing and how can we promote the coffee culture in Nepal and abroad as well. So, be it from barista side, be it from the roaster side, or be it from, a producer side, I think it makes a lot of difference, and you are doing an amazing job. So thank you very much for inviting me and having me in this podcast. Sorry, your phone keep bigger, but I think we nailed it. So yeah, I mean, thank you everybody for listening to this podcast. And yeah, I mean, it's always amazing to be talking about coffee. So I can go on and on and on, but we have time restrictions. All right,
Yeah,
man.
thank you so much, Da. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for everything, Da. I'll see you soon, Da. Bye
Absolutely,
bye.
bye. Take care, stay safe, and yeah, happy lockdown.